Devils are back in the Final Four after defeating Gonzaga 66-52. The road to the Final Four runs through Tobacco Road right to Indianapolis. Glad you're with us tonight. I'm Ken Smith. WREL is your Hoops headquarters. We have live team coverage. Mandy Mitchell is in Houston with the Blue Devils. Ken Medlin in the newsroom with key plays that led to that big win. Ariel Clay is at Duke University where fans celebrated tonight. We begin with Mandy Mitchell live in Houston. And Mandy, give us a sense of what it was like when that final buzzer sounded.
Oh man, Ken, if you've never experienced something like this, you're literally watching people achieve their dreams that they've worked so hard for so long. These kids really got a chance to enjoy themselves. We went into the locker room and they're bouncing around. They got to cut the nets down. What an incredible feeling for this group of young men that play for the Duke Blue Devils. Just to put this in perspective for you, this is a team led by 3 freshmen. That's very young in college basketball, as you know. They also only have 8 scholarship players. The fact that they're now getting to the Final Four, just amazing, says Coach K.
We beat a hell of a team. And our defense the last 16 minutes was spectacular, not good. And I love these guys, and they came through. I mean, they came through, so we're off to Indy. It's a nice thing to be able to say.
Coach K obviously very excited about his team and how they played here tonight in Houston. And it was not an easy game. Let's send it over to Ken Medlin, who breaks down exactly what happened in this one.
I'll tell you, Mandy, there was a moment when this game looked in doubt. Duke led by as many as 11 in the first half, but Gonzaga opened up the second on a 12-3 run. Byron Wesley's and one, putting the Zags up 4 in the second half. But how's this for a March Madness moment? Matt Jones, a guy from Texas, coming up big in his home state with 3 huge second half threes. And Duke holds Gonzaga without a field goal in the final 6 minutes as the Devils pull away for a 66-52 win. That's career Final Four number 12 for Mike Krzyzewski, which ties him with the great John Wooden for the most all time.
Yeah, it's not just about the stars all the time. You got to play those role players as well. Ken, thanks. We'll see you a bit later on in sports. Well, this is one game Duke fans weren't about to miss. Many of them packed the student center on campus, and in the end, they were rewarded with a gift to the Final Four. Ariel Clay live on campus tonight. Ariel.
Okay, there are a few students and fans still hanging around here at the Loop. It's a restaurant here on campus in the Student Center. But earlier today, this place was packed as students anxiously watched that close game and then celebrated their victory that is now sending them back to the Final Four. When Julia Kaki says we're going to the Final Four, she means that literally. The Duke sophomore who watched the Elite 8 game on campus will be traveling to Indiana to watch Duke's next big game in person.
There was a lottery that they had last week, and I think they have like 200 tickets to give out, only $40.
Kaki got one of those tickets.
Oh my God, I'm going to start crying. I'm so excited.
But knowing how close she was to the Final Four made watching the Duke-Gonzaga game all the more stressful. And there was plenty of anxiety for other students, too.
It was a little bit more stressful than the others, but it was just so exciting to see us come back and like really hold on at the end.
6 minutes to go. It got pretty tight, but then they started to pick it up and pull away.
Now students are looking forward to next Saturday and beyond.
I'd love to see us beat Kentucky to win it all. I think that would be kind of just the icing on the cake.
Well, after the game, I asked students what's next, where are you going to celebrate? Ken, most of those students said that today is Sunday, and although they were happy they won, they were heading to the library and back to their dorms to study.
They have work to do. Ariel Clay reporting live on campus tonight. Ariel, thanks. WREL is your Hoops headquarters for the Final Four. We'll have live team coverage with Renee Chu, Jeff Gravely, Mandy Mitchell, and Ken Medlin. Look for live reports starting Wednesday from Indianapolis. And a reminder, you can find game stories, photos, and interviews. It's all on WRELSportsFan.com. I want to get to some breaking news out of Durham now. We're gathering information about a shooting that happened at a Comfort Inn on Highway 55. Moments ago, we learned a 27-year-old woman was shot multiple times by her boyfriend. She was taken to Duke Hospital with serious injuries. Durham police say 3 children were also in the hotel room where the shooting happened, but they were not hurt. Police are still searching for the suspect identified as Mike Brown. Stay with WRAL and WRAL.com for updates. New tonight, a Raleigh house damaged by fire started by a child. A viewer shared this YouTube video of the fire. You can see flames and heavy smoke pouring out of the home. Investigators say that child was playing with a lighter when the fire broke out on Caslin Drive. The Red Cross is helping the 4 people who lived there find a place to stay. No injuries were reported. Well, tonight, loved ones are remembering a 17-year-old high school student found dead this weekend. We first reported a body discovered behind a Durham home on Trotter Ridge Road. Today, a positive identification. 17-year-old Tierra Hall, a junior at Jordan High School. Her body was found just a half-mile from school. Today, WRAL's Layla Santiago talked with Hall's family and friends, sharing their heartbreaking loss.
From what I understand, it was back up in this area over here. I mean, it was probably 50 cops out here, and they had the dog out here and everything.
It was back here that police found a body behind this empty home, a home that had been on the market for the past year, according to neighbor John DeBerry.
So this had to happen Friday, because there was people over here looking at the house on Thursday.
What exactly happened is still under investigation. What they know for sure, it is the body of 17-year-old Tierra Hall.
She didn't do anything to anybody, so whoever did this... They did it to somebody who never hurt anybody or would never hurt anybody.
Hall and Maya Wilson were best friends.
She was funny. She always made everybody laugh.
She tells me the Jordan High School junior had no reason to be near that home. She wasn't known to hang out there or have friends or enemies in that neighborhood.
This is not the kid that anybody would have any reason to do anything to.
Because for friends and family, Tierra Hall was just a bubbly, good 17-year-old girl. In Durham, Layla Santiago, WRAL News.
Police have not said how Hall died, but officers are investigating her death as a homicide. Now, she was not reported missing, and investigators have not said how long her body may have been behind that house. Now, on Twitter, a friend mentioned seeing her in class on Friday. On our WRAL Facebook page, her mother, Cotia Pickens, wrote, "This was my daughter. If anything, just pray for her and myself." Friends and family attended the funeral for one of the men killed in a Raleigh construction accident today. A memorial service for Jose Hernandez was held in Durham. He is one of 3 men killed in the accident last week. The scaffolding the men were on failed and collapsed to the ground. A 4th worker survived and remains at Wake Med. Police say a driver who caused a crash in Wake County ran from the scene. This is traffic cam video of the crash on I-540 near Glenwood Avenue shortly after 3:30 this afternoon. Police say the driver caused a 3-car crash. We're still working to find out who the driver is and if police have made an arrest. No one was seriously hurt. Well, families affected by the Germanwings crash visited a memorial this weekend dedicated to the victims. The memorial is in the village of Les Verniers, which is close to the crash scene. Access to the site itself has been tough, even for emergency workers. New roads are being built to make things easier. Investigators believe the plane's co-pilot locked his captain out of the cockpit and deliberately crashed the plane into the French Alps last week. Recovery teams pulled 2 bodies from the rubble of a collapsed building in Manhattan. The fire destroyed 3 buildings earlier this week. The bodies haven't been identified, but 2 people, though, were reported missing after the inferno. 4 people were critically hurt and several others injured. Investigators say someone illegally tapped a gas line that had been leaking for 7 months before the explosion. Senator Richard Burr was in the national spotlight this morning. He made an appearance on CBS's Face the Nation, which can be seen right here at WRAL. He talked with host Bob Schieffer about Iran and Yemen. During that discussion, Senator Burr made no bones about it. He thinks the U.S. is rushing a nuclear deal with Iran.
You would be one of those who would favor.
I think now's the time to push back from the table and ask ourselves, is it really time to trust the people that we're negotiating with, the Iranians?
Burr went on to say he'd rather postpone Tuesday's deadline for a good deal than make a bad one. He also said Iranian-backed rebels can't be allowed to gain a foothold in Yemen, where a coalition of countries are mounting attacks to stop them. Our WRAL family saying a final goodbye to someone who is a big part of a generation's childhood. Family members tell us Margaret Burkell passed away this weekend at the age of 81. Miss Margaret, as she was known, hosted a program on WRAL in the 1960s called Romper Room. Here she is in this picture with her daughters, Kim and Jenny. We send our heartfelt thoughts and condolences to her family. A multi-million-dollar settlement for the life of a man killed in a bus accident. Coming up, we sit down with his widow, who explains why no amount will be enough. Nate.
Temperatures this evening not as chilly as they were last night, and we have clouds to thank for that. We'll explain why and why we won't be so thankful for those clouds tomorrow in your forecast. Coming up, stay with us.
The wife of a man killed in a bus crash says she's thankful for a multi-million-dollar jury award against the bus company. 58-year-old Doval Watson was from Chapel Hill. He was taking teenagers on a tour of a university in Virginia when their bus overturned in April 2013. Last week, a jury in Durham awarded damages to the family. Today, our Brian Mims sat down with his widow, who says no amount could ever be enough.
It has absolutely been the hardest time in my life.
Almost 2 years to the day. And now Teresa Watson is sitting here in a hotel lobby, her son and her 2 lawyers by her side, to take us back.
We got on the bus like we normally do.
April 5th, 2013, 7:02 a.m., Highway 58, an hour west of Norfolk, Virginia. Teresa Watson and her husband Doval were headed to Hampton University, his beloved alma mater, with 6 high school students. Their charter bus ran off the road.
I don't know all the things that happened to me, but I was in and out of a coma. I learned this during the trial that I was yelling, "Get this bus off me."
Her husband, the man she called D, the father of her 6 children, didn't make it.
To wake up every morning and he's not there. I'll go to church without him. Out to the park without him. It just feels so empty. It's like a void.
She pursued a wrongful death lawsuit against Horizon Coach Lines. The driver, Larry Brox of Raleigh, lost control when reaching for a water. At trial, he expressed his remorse.
I think he was truly sorry.
But she says the company never admitted liability until just before the trial. After seeking $52 million, a jury awarded $18 million to Doval Watson's estate. Dollars, of course, can never bring back D.
You have him in your spirit every day. And so I have to work on the closure part. It just did not give me closure.
She forgives the driver. To be angry, she says, would only make the hardest time of her life that much harder. Brian Mims, WRAL News, Durham.
The bus driver was charged with reckless driving. The students on the bus, juniors and seniors in high school, did not suffer serious injuries. Could a killer crippling disease like polio be a cure for cancer? Well, research at Duke University shows big promise.
And there's no cancer in this picture at all.
We don't see any cancer, active cancer cells in the tumor at all.
That was the topic of an extended segment on CBS's 60 Minutes tonight. Almost 24 patients with a severe form of brain cancer have been given an experimental treatment based on a re-engineered polio virus. 2 of them are now cancer-free. The university is experimenting with several forms of other cancers. A popular children's story transformed into impressive works of art and engineering. We'll check out the Brick Universe Lego Convention in downtown Raleigh. And this is no brisk spring evening. It's downright cold. Meteorologist Nate Johnson will show us when the temperatures will return to a more comfortable night out on the town. A popular children's story transformed into works of art. We stopped by the Brick Universe Lego event at the Raleigh Convention Center. Check out some of these incredible displays, among them a tiger, the Brooklyn Bridge, and other Brooklyn City buildings, all made out of Legos. Christians around the Triangle observed Palm Sunday today. Songs and prayers for the Easter season filled the courtyard at Sacred Heart Cathedral. Palm Sunday is one of the holiest days on the Christian calendar. The observance also marks the beginning of Holy Week, leading up to Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, and Easter Sunday. And it turned out to be a rather nice day.
A little chilly today.
Well, there was a time when Duke going to the Final Four was an afterthought. In a span of 19 seasons from 1986 to 2004. The Blue Devils made 10 trips to college basketball's premier event. But since that trip in 2004, Duke has been strangely absent, making only 1 Final Four trip in the next decade until today. Duke facing Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. Big first half for Tyus Jones, a freshman in name only. Jones 11 first half points. Duke leads by as many as 11. But in the second half, Gonzaga makes a run. Byron Wesley take 2 and the foul. The Zags start the second half on a 12-3 run. They lead by 4. but Duke responds. Matt Jones, he's from DeSoto, Texas, and he's feeling right at home in his home state. 3 huge second half threes. That one puts Duke back up 6. Gonzaga's not going away. Kyle Wilcher, a chance to tie, but he's hearing footsteps. Wilcher misses the gimme, and from that point, Duke is in command. Gonzaga doesn't make a shot from the 6:40 mark on, as the Blue Devils end the game on a 13-2 run, and Duke is back in the Final Four after beating Gonzaga 66-52. This will be trip number 12 for Mike Krzyzewski to the Final Four. That ties him with the legendary John Wooden for the most career Final Fours. Mandy Mitchell was courtside for today's game, and she joins us live from Houston as Duke is making Final Four plans. Mandy.
Ken, I'll tell you, I've been with this Duke Blue Devil team since the beginning of this NCAA tournament. I was with them last week, obviously, in Charlotte. They got 2 easy wins. Then they came here to Houston, took care of business again. This is a very businesslike Duke team. They're very reserved. Today, a little bit different. They cut loose a little. We're able to enjoy that moment. Pure joy in a winner's locker room.
It was just like a wave of emotions, man. Just a lot of happiness. Everyone was so excited for our group to have achieved something like this. It's amazing. You know, everyone loves each other. We were big time today.
I've never felt anything like this. It's something I always dreamed about, watching March Madness as a kid, and to be one of the Final Four teams. I can't really put it into words.
No words needed. Just look at the faces of these Duke players. A senior who did not want to leave campus without cutting down at least one net finally got his chance.
Blessed, honored, you know, something that we all dreamed of. You know, we worked hard for this moment, and we beat a great Gonzaga team.
This is a team that always seems to have a different hero every night. Against Gonzaga, that guy was Matt Jones. Jones called himself an offensive liability not too long ago. In Houston, he was the one who hit the buckets when this team needed it.
It felt great to hear the final buzzer and look back and see my family in the crowd. It was overwhelming emotion.
This is one of the best feelings, being on top of the net, you know, cutting down the net, you know, with your brothers, with guys you work so hard with, you know, in the off season, running sprints and that sort of thing. So, you know, it was a great feeling just to be up there.
Look, I'm not saying just because we've won. I've said it the whole year. I love my team. I love my team. They are a pleasure to be with, and as a result, they're taking me to Indy.
And we all know Coach K really likes Indianapolis. The last time the Blue Devils won a national championship was 2010 in Indianapolis. The funny thing about all of this is they actually also went to Houston that year, won the regional final before going to the Final Four. So we're going to see if they can do that again this year, Ken.
Interesting how history can repeat itself. All right, thanks, Mandy. Well, what about Duke's opponent? Michigan State and Louisville need overtime today, and that's when the Spartans pull away. Bryn Forbes for 3. That puts Sparty up 3. Then check out the defense-offense transition. Brandon Dawson the block. Then Denzel Valentine the finish on the other end. And he's a happy Valentine because Michigan State is Final Four bound as well after beating Louisville 76-70 in overtime.
It was a dog-eat-dog day, boy, and I think both teams spent themselves and just can't believe where we're going. I'm going to feel that way till the plane lands, and then it'll be fun to go to work and see if we can keep this magical journey going.
That sets up a Final Four matchup between 2 of the top tournament coaches of all time, Tom Izzo and Mike Krzyzewski. 19 Final Fours between them. Michigan State against Duke, tip-off 6:05 Saturday. Then at 8:49, a showdown of #1 seeds. Wisconsin against Kentucky, both of those games on TBS this year, but we will have the national championship game on WRAL Monday night, April 6th. Well, you have to give the Carolina Hurricanes some credit. Since January 1st, the Canes have 42 points in 37 games. If the Canes had started the season on that pace, they'd be very much in the playoff hunt, but as it stands, that's no longer still an option. But that kind of turnaround does bode well for the future. As for the present, the Canes face off against the Boston Bruins. They're down 1-0 when Chris Terry sets up Nathan Gerby, and he ties the game up with 22 seconds to go in the second period. It stays that way until overtime when David Pasternak sends in the game winner for Boston. 2-1 Bruins the final in OT, but the Canes keep piling up points here late in the season.
We're a good team. I know we are. Obviously, our record shows otherwise, but, I know we're a good team. We've been in a lot of games, took to a lot of teams, but, just, finding a complete game, 60 minutes is, what we have to do.
On the track, last lap drama at Martinsville. Denny Hamlin trying to hold off Brad Keselowski in the final turn. Keselowski taps Hamlin. Hamlin nearly spins out, but he keeps control and goes on to win the STP 500. Top 5, Hamlin and Keselowski, followed by Joey Logano, Matt Kenseth, and David Reagan. In more basketball news, Texas has fired head coach Rick Barnes. The North Carolina native led the Longhorns to 16 NCAA tournaments in 17 years, but they asked him to fire staff, and he said no, and now he's out. That's loyalty.
Saddle up for the journey to
Indianapolis. It is going to be fun. Yes.
All right, we appreciate that, Ken. And thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. Our next newscast, 4:30 a.m. Make it a terrific Monday.